Welcome back to Try a Little Tenderness. We're still sitting here with Norman Weeks. Yes. Norman, we were speaking about you going to seminary school. And if I recall our conversation, didn't you graduate at the top of your class?
I was, yeah. In fact, I was one of the first to graduate in my class.
Okay.
It was an experience. And after that, I became a pastor of the church, and I pastored church for 2 years. And I learned something about that. Is that a lot of times we have abilities that are not callings.
Mm-hmm.
They both look alike. Some things we can be trained to do. And I was trained to be a pastor, but that was not my calling because the whole time I was a musician.
Okay.
So when that sort of ran its course with me, I was still a musician.
At the bottom line, you were still a musician.
I was still a musician.
So just give us a few highlights, pointers about being a pastor and why you were able to walk away from it.
Well, like I said, it was an ability. It was something I was taught. I had the knowledge, the biblical knowledge to do it. They taught me how to do the hoop and the subject and the 3 points and the conclusion. And it was an ability that I'm not saying I was that good at, but I was mediocre at. But it was not a calling. It was not a passion. It was not something I could do without. And a lot of times people who enter ministry get into it and they find out that it's not their calling, but they're ashamed to get out. Right. I looked at it one day. I said, "This is not me. This is not what I want. I want to be a musician." The problem was that at that time, the music wasn't making me the money. But I understand I've never been in this for the money, but I still like to eat.
Right.
As you can see.
Yes.
But so that was good, but it was not a passion.
Mm-hmm.
A passion is something you do if you don't make a dime.
Okay.
And even if you lose money,
you still do it.
You still do it
every day.
Yes, sir.
Now, also, your church was multicultural.
Yes, it was. It was. I guess I could say it was Gum Springs Community Baptist Church, and it was multicultural, multinational, different kinds of people in it. But I still go back to the fact that even though I did this, that was not my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I've been offered since that time several other churches to pastor, and that's not. I think that the Creator gives you a gift, a calling, and a passion, and other things that you pick up on your own. My calling, my passion is music. It always has been since I was 6 years old.
Well, I had the privilege of sitting in on one of your teaching sessions, and the fact that you sat down and taught just blew me. But the fact that it was well received and it wasn't the norm, it was out of the box, and I think it allowed people to drop their guard.
Well, I noticed that sitting down and talking presents a more of an intimate atmosphere. It's not, I'm up here and you're down there, look at me. Look up here at me. It's look at me. Mm-hmm. Now, it's like we're carrying a conversation. It's just not your turn to speak yet.
Right.
So when I get finished, then just like you and I are doing now, when I get finished, then you can speak. But right now, we're having a conversation. I'm talking, and as soon as I can finish, you can talk. And that's the sort of teaching pattern that I had at that time, yeah. And I still do seminars. I still get asked to do seminars sometimes. Yeah.
So, do you think if pastors did that style, they will reach more and appear more approachable?
Yes, I do, but I don't think it will happen.
Because?
Well, pastoring has a lot of glamour to it. Yeah, it has a lot of, like I said, big eye, little U kind of concept to it. And to pastor a church, you have to have a lot of respect from people. And a lot of people don't respect you if they think you're on their level. They want, as a pastor, they want to think that you're above them. That's why they're more critical of pastors they'll do the same thing the pastor did, but the pastor was wrong and they were okay.
Right,
Yes.
right.
They want to look at you as the image of the prophet or you're God himself, and you're not. You're just another person just like that.
Right, I see. So, like, you steal and the pastor steals, but the pastor stole the church people's money, but you just misappropriated some funds.
Yeah, but it's not as bad, even though it's the same crime.
Right, I see.
It's not as bad if you're the pastor, because you're the pastor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I got you. Well, Norman, share with us and our audience, who influenced you growing up when you were small?
My greatest influence of all musicians was Oscar Peterson. I never forget. It was my first year in college. I was at the University of Maryland. It was Maryland State College then, and I was in the practice room, and I was in there and I was just fumbling around with the piano, and the head of the department came in because he was being critical of me because you weren't supposed to practice anything with classical music in the practice room. I was in there playing some jazz with some chords. And he said, he scolded me. He said, "But you know, you sound like Oscar Peterson." I'd never heard Oscar Peterson. I never who was that. So when I graduated from college, I went and I actually listened to an Oscar Peterson recording. I said, "Oh, I can't play like that," because he was just awesome. I said, "But by the time I get his age that he is now, I'm ready to play like that." and I'm not bragging when I say that, but that's a passion. Mm-hmm. I want that right there. That's how you know that that's a calling. So I'm going to reach that level. If the Creator keeps me on this earth long enough, I'm going to reach that level. Okay. Not that you want to outdo that person or you aim to that person, but you want that, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's what a calling is, what a passion is. I want that. I want my own version of that right there.
And that's called perseverance.
Yeah. It only comes by perseverance. Mm-hmm. Only comes by.
Now, but when you were smaller, who influenced you? Because you're not from this area. You're from Eastern Shore.
Yeah, Eastern Shore. I tell you what happened. When I was in this sort of a strange story. When I was about 6 years old, I got sick. One day I came down with a fever, and nobody knew what was wrong with me. My parents they tried home remedies just to try to break the fever. And the fever never break; it kept rising. So they finally took me to the doctor, and the doctor immediately sent me to the hospital. And I was in the hospital for like 7 days, and they brought me out of the hospital. The doctor told my parents that I have a rare form of pneumonia that was devastating my immune system, and I would probably not live to be an adult. Mm-hmm. Yes, they said, "Well, give him something to do until that time." They said, "But he'll probably never get past the age of 20 because my immune system would cause me to contract other diseases that would kill me." Mm-hmm. I'm 61 now. and so they gave me, there was a lady in the street who gave piano lessons, 50 cents a lesson. She was a school teacher. And her name was Mrs. Gertrude Johnson.
Slow down. 50 cents a lesson. 50
cents a lesson. And I took them for like 6 years. I was her best student.
So that was probably a lot of money then.
Yeah, 50 cents.
50 cents a lesson.
In fact, when she got it, she went to 75%. My parents couldn't afford it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She finally, after about 5 or 6 years, she went to 75%. They couldn't afford it.
And so they gave you piano lessons for something to do.
For something to do, to keep me occupied.
And here it is.
Here it is. 60 years later, 50 years later, I'm still alive, still kicking.
Did you ever go back to the piano teacher?
I sure did. I went back to her. I went back and I honored her.
Oh, wow.
I honored her before she died and after she died. Yeah, I never forgot her. She set me down on my first lesson, and she called my mother. She said, he may not do anything else in the world, but he's going to play. And my mother was like, "How did you know that?" And I was, in fact, later, my mother told me that. Later, I wondered, how did she know that? But now, I run into students like that. I say, that person's going to play. That person's going to sing. It's kind of that you know it. And what happened was, because I was so sickly, as a child, I couldn't do things other kids do. I couldn't run and play ball, so, all of the girls like the athletic kind of guys. But, like, carry me near a piano, and I can get all their attention. I could play the old Temptation songs, the old Smokey Robinson and something. "Oh, you can play that?" Yeah, so and then I just continued. And then I found out that I could make money doing it. So they took me out one night, I made $12. I said, oh my God, I'm rich, I'm gonna buy a car at 14.
At 14?
At 14.
So you started playing, how old were you?
I was about 6 when I first started.
6, and now you're 61.
I'm 61.
My God. That's an amazing feat.
It's been a life journey, and I've enjoyed it.
So we're getting near the end. So tell us, what upcoming events do you have planned?
Well, right now, excuse me, I'm in the studio now, up in Philadelphia. I'm working with some of the guys that used to be with Philadelphia National Records, and I'm producing my 5th jazz CD. I'm about to produce my goddaughter and a couple of other people that I want to produce. I want to, you know, I don't know when the creator's going to call me home, but I want to go out with a bang.
And I'm sure you will.
I want to go out with a bang. I wanted to leave a legacy. You know, I wanted to leave something that my grandkids can pick up one day and say, you know, this was granddad. Look what you did. You know? Not popularity. Not. I never wanted to be rich. Had chances to be. You know? Never wanted to be popular. Never wanted to be known. I just want to be able to give the world good music. And you know, and a lot of times, a lot of artists who are really good artists like that are not noted for their artistry until after they're gone.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
With the recordings that you have going on, would you say you have a future event of a concert coming up?
I have been talking to some people around the D.C. area, and we've been kind of talking about doing something like that. I really didn't rush it. If it happens, good. If it doesn't, you know, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until it's done.
Okay.
You know, so the Creator gives me another 30, 40, 50 years on earth. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
Okay.
I'm not looking for a reward. The music itself is its own reward.
Its own reward. Now, I want to make sure we have everything covered. I know we talked about Norman Weeks itself. So I do know that there's Spirit of Jazz CD, and then there's Spirit of Jazz, the internet television show.
Yes, television show.
And there's some other avenues out there that you have too.
There's several other avenues that I'm working on. I'm going into some filming. I'm not doing it. I'm sort of sponsoring people that wants to do television shows and their own recordings. I'm teaching some people. One of the days I may have to retire from this, so I'm trying to teach people the style that I do, so they can take that style and expand on it, like I took somebody else's style and expanded on it.
Right. So, and the music school.
We still have the music school. I have several students that I'm teaching that are really dedicated.
So let's film the music school. That's 5.
Yeah.
And
I get around a lot.
so we want to make sure we have everything.
Oh, yeah.
So how do we contact you?
Well, you can get me on Facebook. You can get me on Spirit of Jazz. You can Google my name and they'll give you a whole list of things. And I'm very. I don't want the word. I don't know what word you said.
Approachable?
I'm approachable, but yet I'm not out there.
Right.
I never wanted to be out there. You know.
Okay. So it's www.spiritofjazz.net.
Yes.
So let me say www.spiritofjazz.net.
Yes.
And on there you have the how to contact Mr. Weeks, and if you want to be a student and learn the art, and he can teach you any instrument, from the piano, the drums, the oboe, any instrument. He can make it come alive, and he can do it. But if he can't, but I'm sure he can. But if he cannot, he can surely contact you.
Yeah.
Connect you to a person who can. So, want to make sure we cover everything to this point. Who would you consider? Would you consider mentoring someone to take the mantle?
I would love to. I'm trying to do that now. I've had several students that I've tried to influence to do that. And, you know, you really have to have a heart for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, like I said, I've made a lot of money doing this. I must confess I have. But it wasn't quick money. It wasn't the money that you would make if you were a banker or, you were a doctor or a lawyer. It came over time. So you really have to love this to do it. It is rewarding because it's rewarded me.
Okay.
But, it takes time and diligence. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get used. Things are not always going to work for you. I wrote songs, threw them in the trash, and went back 5 years later and got them and put them on the market, and they did good. Yeah.
Well, then you didn't really throw them in the trash.
Well, yeah, you got kind of disappointed, and I don't want to do that. But I've never walked away from it.
Okay.
I've never. You have to be. It's something that you have to learn.
Well, let's. We were getting ready to sign off, but let's talk for a few moments about working in this industry and getting hurt.
The music industry is a very, I'm going to use this word, cutthroat industry.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, music is a product just like tennis shoes and soap and selling cars. There's always a competition. There's always somebody who wants to outdo you, who wants to go a level above you. The only thing I've found to defeat that is persistency. Never let them defeat you. You can only defeat yourself by stopping.
Say that again.
You can only defeat yourself. They can't defeat you. As long as you got breath in your body, they cannot defeat you. You defeat yourself by allowing them to stop you. And I have never allowed them to stop me. They've tried. They've told me I've been kicked out of places. You can't do this. And we don't want that here. Okay, just go. And after a while, it becomes so much more. I'm not saying I'm cream, but cream always rises to the top.
Rises to the top. Yeah. And perseverance.
Perseverance. You can never. It can never become a point where you said, "I'm not going to do this anymore." Because when you get to a point where I'm not going to do this, that means it was never your calling. It was your ability.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
But when you eat, drink, sleep
yes,
it's your passion.
Yes. When you lose things for it.
And you do it for free.
When you lose money on it.
And you do it for free.
And you do it for free. And you're 55 years old and you're doing it for free. But it pays off in the end. And now it's paying off.
Okay.
It's paying off. I'm enjoying my life now.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yes. I still got all my hair.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Norman, for allowing us to interview you here on Try a Little Tenderness. You guys, thank you for joining us this evening. We are revamping and look forward to seeing you with more upcoming shows. And see you soon. Good night.